The moment Megan Foster walked into the free weight section of Elite Fitness Center, she could feel their eyes burning into her. The air was thick with testosterone and judgment as she adjusted her plain gray workout pants and faded t-shirt. Before you watch full story, please comment down from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Ladies section is over there with the pink dumbbells, announced Chad Thompson, Elite Fitness's star trainer, his perfectly sculpted arms crossed over his chest, his white teeth gleaming in what could only be described as a predatory smile. This area is for real lifters, not housewives playing gym. The group of men behind him, other trainers and their clients, erupted in laughter. One of them pulled out his phone, the camera lens pointed directly at her humiliation. "Women like you should stick to yoga and leave the heavy lifting to men," someone shouted from the back of the growing crowd. Their laughter felt like needles against her skin, but Megan didn't flinch. She didn't run. Instead, she slowly adjusted the silver bracelet on her wrist, her thumb tracing over the date engraved on its surface. September 12, 2019, the day everything changed, the day she promised she would find her strength again. She looked up at Chad, meeting his mocking gaze with a calm intensity that momentarily made his smile falter. He couldn't know what she'd overcome to stand on this platform today. He couldn't know who she really was. They had just humiliated the wrong woman, and their entire gym was about to witness what happens when you underestimate someone with nothing left to lose. 5 years ago, Megan Foster was just another 33-year-old suburban mom in Dallas, Texas. Married to her college sweetheart David, with their 7-year-old son Tyler and a job teaching science at Roosevelt High School, life wasn't perfect, but it was stable. Until that rainy September evening when a drunk driver crossed the median on Interstate 30. The police said David died instantly. In a heartbeat, Megan became a widow, a single mother, and someone she no longer recognized in the mirror. Grief swallowed her whole. She stopped sleeping, barely ate, and when she did, it was whatever processed food she could grab between Tyler's soccer practice and grading papers. The pounds piled on as her world shrank down to survival mode. Get up, get Tyler to school, teach, pick up Tyler, help with homework, try to sleep, repeat. Her doctor diagnosed depression during a routine physical where she'd gained another 15 pounds. When antidepressants only dulled the edges, she suggested exercise for the endorphins. "Start small," she'd said, "but make it something you enjoy." That's when memories of her past life resurfaced, fragments she'd locked away when she chose family over her own dreams. Before she was Mrs. Foster, before she was Tyler's mom or the science teacher who organized bake sales, she was Megan Carter, full scholarship athlete at the University of Texas. She was the girl who shocked the collegiate weightlifting world when she qualified for Olympic trials at 22. The same girl who walked away from it all when a minor back injury coincided with an unexpected pregnancy and David's first big job offer. They made the decision together, family first. But sometimes in the quiet hours she'd wondered who she might have become. She joined Elite Fitness Center with their New You promotion. $99 for 3 months, no contract. It seemed perfect, until she learned about their annual strength competition offering a $50,000 athletic scholarship prize that could be transferred to a family member. $50,000 that could secure Tyler's college education, something she couldn't promise on a teacher's salary and dwindling life insurance payments. The entry fee was steep, $250. But the possibility of giving Tyler a future without crushing debt made it worth every penny of her savings. She filled out the forms, paid the fee, and promised herself she would train harder than she ever had before. What she didn't expect was the wall of resistance she'd hit from every direction the moment people realized what she was trying to do. The whispers started immediately. "That heavy-set teacher thinks she's going to compete? Isn't she too old for this? Does she even know how to lift properly?" She pretended not to hear them as she relearned movements her body once performed with precision. Her muscles remembered more than her mind did, responding to the familiar stress with surprising enthusiasm. Each small victory, adding 5 more pounds, completing 1 more rep, felt like reclaiming pieces of herself she thought were lost forever. But with each step forward she took, the obstacles placed in her path seemed to multiply, testing not just her physical strength but her resolve to finish what she'd started. Linda Parker had been her best friend since their freshman year dorm days at UT Austin. Now she owned Serenity Day Spa in Highland Park and moved in social circles that featured Dallas Cowboys wives and oil executives' daughters. When Megan told her about entering the competition over their monthly coffee at Magnolia Cafe, she expected encouragement. Instead, her perfectly manicured hand covered Megan's as her eyes filled with what looked like pity. "Oh honey," she sighed, stirring her zero-calorie sweetener into her latte. "Women our age don't lift weights like that. You'll ruin your figure." What's left of it? The casual cruelty hit harder coming from someone who'd once been her confidence booster. Besides, she continued, lowering her voice as if sharing vital intelligence, people are talking. They think you're trying too hard, not accepting where you are in life. It's uncomfortable to watch. Megan swallowed the hurt and changed the subject, but the damage was done. Within days, Tyler came home from a playdate with red eyes. Mom, Jeremy's dad said you're trying to be something you're not. He said women who lift are trying to be men, and his mom agreed. They didn't know I could hear them. Her heart shattered seeing his confusion, his instinct to defend her warring with the social need to fit in. That night, she sat on the edge of his bed longer than usual, explaining that sometimes adults say unkind things when they don't understand someone's choices. But why don't they just ask you? He wondered with the pure logic of a 12-year-old. She wished she had a better answer than the truth, because it's easier to judge than to understand. The whispers followed her to Roosevelt High, where she had taught for over a decade. In the teacher's lounge, conversations would halt when she entered, resuming with artificial brightness about topics that had clearly shifted. Rebecca Stevens, the 26-year-old PE teacher with her fresh degree and CrossFit certification, cornered her after a faculty meeting. I noticed you've been working out, she said, her tone suggesting she was about to offer valuable wisdom. I just wanted to say those old-school lifting techniques you're using, they're actually super dangerous for women, especially, her eyes flicked down to Megan's midsection, women with your body composition. I'd be happy to show you some more appropriate exercises. Before she could respond, Principal Garner called her into his office. George Garner had been supportive after David's death, arranging flexible hours and even organizing meal deliveries from staff. Now he leaned back in his chair looking uncomfortable. Megan, several parents have expressed concern about your new hobby, he adjusted his tie nervously. They feel it sends the wrong message to impressionable young girls. Competitive weightlifting isn't exactly the image we want for our female faculty. Perhaps you could keep it more private? Not mention it to students? The request hung in the air like a physical obstacle. She'd never brought it up with students. They had found out through the parent grapevine and social media. Some of the girls had actually approached her with interest, asking questions about strength training. For the first time since joining the staff, she left Garner's office without agreeing to his request, a small rebellion that felt significant. The situation at Elite Fitness deteriorated rapidly after her competition entry became known. Jason Miller, the facility manager with his perfectly pressed polo shirts and clipboard always in hand, seemed to materialize whenever she approached certain equipment. That machine is reserved for advanced members, he would say. Or, we're about to do maintenance on that area. When she pointed out that others were using the same equipment without interruption, his smile never reached his eyes. Just looking out for your safety, Miss Foster. We have excellent low-impact classes designed specifically for women of a certain. He paused, his gaze sweeping over her experience level. She bit her tongue, remembering the competition rules stated all participants must train at the host gym for a minimum of 2 months prior to the event. She couldn't afford to be banned. Chad Thompson's tactics were less subtle. As the head trainer and 3-time state powerlifting champion, his word was gospel at Elite. During an open coaching session where members could ask for form checks, she requested guidance on her clean and jerk technique. Chad's demonstration deliberately included movements that would strain her lower back. She recognized the errors from her collegiate training but watched as several beginners absorbed his dangerous advice. This might be too advanced for you, he said loudly when she didn't immediately follow his demonstration. Some bodies just aren't built for this kind of work. His clients nodded in agreement, one of them filming their interaction with poorly concealed amusement. Later that week, she discovered that video on the gym's social media with the caption, "When keeping it real goes wrong. Know your limits. #not everyone can lift." The online harassment escalated from there. Someone created a group called Real Lifters of Dallas, where her training sessions were regularly featured, her form critiqued and body mocked in equal measure. Anonymous accounts left comments suggesting she was having a midlife crisis or trying to attract younger men. One particularly vicious meme showed her face photoshopped onto a failing Olympic lifter dropping a barbell with the caption, "Desperate Housewife Midlife Crisis Edition." What hurt most wasn't the stranger's comments but seeing names she recognized among those who had liked and shared the content. Parents of Tyler's friends, former students, even 2 fellow teachers. She set her own accounts to private and told Tyler to stay off social media for a while, claiming it was to help him focus on schoolwork. The shame of hiding burned nearly as much as the humiliation. That evening, she found Tyler on the front porch looking at a fitness magazine featuring the upcoming elite competition. "They don't think you can do it," he said quietly. "But they don't know what we do at night, do they?" His smile reminded her so much of David it physically hurt. Their secret training sessions had started in their garage a month after she joined Elite. Tyler had noticed how tense she was coming home from the gym and suggested they set up their own judgment-free zone with equipment purchased secondhand. Each night after homework, they'd spend an hour with the used barbell and mismatched plates while Tyler tracked her progress in a composition notebook, his careful handwriting recording weights and reps with scientific precision. "Dad would be so proud of you," he'd say sometimes, and those simple words pushed her harder than any trainer ever could. On particularly difficult days when the weight felt immovable, she'd touch her bracelet, David's last gift, inscribed with the date of their first competitive meet together in college and his favorite phrase, "Find your strength." In those garage sessions, surrounded by laundry detergent and storage boxes, she was rediscovering more than physical power. Competition day arrived with the Texas sun blazing hot even at 9 o'clock in the morning. The Elite Fitness parking lot was transformed with vendor tents, protein shake stations, and a central platform where the lifting would take place. Spectators filled the rows of chairs, mostly gym members and local fitness enthusiasts, with a small section reserved for competitors' families. Tyler sat there alone, clutching the worn composition notebook where he tracked every rep of her training. She'd worn her old college warm-up jacket over her obligatory elite competition singlet, a small act of defiance and a shield against the stares that followed her through the registration area. The women's lightweight and middleweight divisions had already completed their lifts, with records displayed on the digital board hanging above the platform. The announcer called the women's heavyweight division to the warm-up area. 5 women, including herself, lined up for final check-in with Jason Miller, who ran through the rules with mechanical efficiency. Each competitor gets 3 attempts at their chosen weight. Best successful lift counts toward your total. You must declare your first attempt now. The other women announced their numbers: 85 kilograms, 90 kilograms, 102 kilograms, 110 kilograms, respectable weights that nodded to the amateur nature of a local gym competition. When her turn came, she looked directly at Jason and said clearly, 250 kilograms. His pen froze above the clipboard. That can't be right. The current division record is 126 kilograms. Behind him, Chad Thompson had stopped his conversation mid-sentence, his head swiveling toward them. "I'm aware of the record," she replied calmly. "My first attempt is 250 kilograms. Jason's face reddened. "Mrs. Foster, this isn't a joke. Declaring a weight you can't possibly lift wastes everyone's time and makes a mockery of the competition." Chad approached, whispers erupting behind him. "Problem?" he asked, though his smirk suggested he already knew. Jason explained her declared weight with exasperated gestures. Chad's laugh cut through the tension. "Let her try. Some lessons need to be learned the hard way." He turned to her with exaggerated concern. "Just be careful not to hurt yourself, honey. We don't need any ambulances today." The other competitors stared at her with mixtures of confusion and secondhand embarrassment. None offered support or even acknowledgement. She was alone, exactly as they'd planned from the beginning. As she walked to the preparation area, memories flooded back unbidden, not of the recent months of humiliation but from 13 years earlier. The 2011 National Collegiate Championships in Colorado Springs. The roar of the crowd as she approached the platform, 22 years old and fearless. The weight on the bar, 145 kilograms. And the announcer's voice, Megan Carter from the University of Texas attempting a new collegiate record. The clean pull, the explosive drive, the satisfaction of locked arms overhead, and 3 white lights from the judges. The future spreading before her like an open road. Next competitor, Megan Foster. First attempt at, there was a pause, presumably as he double-checked the number. 250 kilograms. A murmur ran through the crowd. She stepped onto the platform, aware of Tyler leaning forward in his seat, of Chad and Jason exchanging confident smirks at the judges' table, of Greg Walters, former national champion and head judge, shaking his head slightly with what appeared to be professional disappointment. The barbell waited, loaded with the heavy plates that had been her constant companions for months. She adjusted her bracelet, touching the engraved date like a talisman, and approached the bar with methodical calm. Her hands gripped the familiar knurling, the weight already comfortable in her palms before she'd lifted it an inch. She positioned her feet, set her back, and took 3 deep breaths, each one clearing her mind until nothing existed but the connection between her body and the barbell. With the fourth breath she pulled. The weight came up smoothly in the first phase of the clean, her body remembering precisely when to dip and drive, accepting the bar at her shoulders in a perfect front rack position. Without hesitation, she dipped again and exploded upward, driving the 250 kilograms overhead with locked arms, her body stable beneath the weight that represented every barrier they had thrown in her path. 3 seconds of absolute control. 3 seconds of vindication. 3 seconds of reclaiming her identity. The silence in the gym was absolute. She returned the barbell to the platform with a controlled drop, the sound echoing like thunder in the stunned quiet. She turned to face the judges, already knowing what she would see, 3 white lights signaling a good lift. Greg Walters' face had gone slack with shock, his clipboard dangling forgotten from his fingertips. Behind him, Chad Thompson's arrogant smile had vanished, replaced by something closer to horror. Only then did the crowd react, first with scattered applause that quickly built into a roar, led by Tyler's standing ovation and tearful cheering. She allowed herself one small smile, not of triumph but of recognition. They were finally seeing what she had known all along, that beneath the layers of grief and doubt and social expectations was a foundation of steel that had never truly rusted away. The impact was immediate and overwhelming. As she stepped off the platform, a local reporter rushed forward, microphone extended. "Miss Foster, that was incredible. Can you confirm that you're Megan Carter, the 2011 collegiate national champion who disappeared from the sport?" The question reverberated through the gym, faces turning toward her with new recognition and reassessment. She nodded once, breathing still controlled. "Yes, that was a long time ago. I took a different path." The reporter pressed on, excitement making his voice crack. "Sources say you were Olympic-bound before your sudden retirement. What happened? And why return now at a local gym competition?" Before she could answer, Tyler pushed through the gathering crowd, wrapping his arms around her waist with fierce pride. "My mom is the strongest person in the world," he announced to anyone listening, his eyes challenging them to disagree. The sight of him standing protective beside her, this child who had watched her crumble after his father's death and patiently helped rebuild her piece by piece, brought unexpected tears to her eyes. She placed a hand on his shoulder, drawing strength from his presence. "Life happened," she told the reporter simply. "I became a mother, a teacher, a widow. But I never stopped being strong. I just expressed it differently." She glanced toward the judges' table where Chad and Jason were in heated conversation with Greg Walters. This competition wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about remembering who I am and showing my son that obstacles are just things you lift your way through. The $50,000 scholarship prize was awarded at a ceremony 2 weeks after the competition. Tyler stood beside her on the small stage erected in the Elite Fitness parking lot, his hand gripping hers tightly as Greg Walters handed over the oversized check with a grudging smile. "Congratulations, Miss Foster. An impressive performance." The formal words couldn't mask his lingering resentment at being proven so dramatically wrong. She accepted the check with grace she didn't entirely feel. "Thank you. I hope this inspires you to look more carefully at your competitors in the future. Strength comes in many forms." The crowd's applause felt like vindication, but the true victory was Tyler's face as he stared at the check that represented his future, a future his father would never see but had helped secure through the strength he'd always believed she possessed. Today, Megan runs a twice-weekly lifting clinic at the community center, free for women over 35. Their first session had 3 participants. By the 3rd month, they needed a waiting list. Women come with different bodies, different stories, different goals, but the same hesitant hope in their eyes. The belief that strength remains possible even when life suggests otherwise. She recognizes that look because she'd seen it in her own mirror for years. Some days, teaching them the perfect hip hinge or shoulder position feels more meaningful than the competition victory that brought her back into the lifting world. The weight of grief has never fully disappeared, but like any heavy load carried consistently, it has built capacity rather than crushing her. She has learned to balance it, to incorporate it into the person she is still becoming. The strength she rediscovered wasn't just physical, it was the courage to stand alone on a platform, to face doubt with dignity, to rebuild from ruins, and to extend a hand to others still finding their way. The platform awaits. What will you lift?